action, adventure, fantasy movies.
Your mom knows a king?
I've always wanted to be a princess.
Laughter. Melodious carols. Music by the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra.
I have an idea.
It's really spicy.
And many more. Watch KBC Channel 1 this December for your best holiday entertainment.
Have a blessed festive season.
Good evening and welcome to Prime Edition. Tonight, other than the stories that have been shaping the day today, we'll be telling you about what has been happening across the entire year in terms of what led to the national dialogue that led to the report that was authored just about 2-3 weeks ago. And of course, our focus again also will be on the performance of members of parliament the last 1 year, particularly the youthful members of parliament, and what they have been able to achieve for the last 1 year. We'll be engaging the member of parliament for Manyata Gitonga Mukunji, as well as a governance expert, Crispus Wathimba, and the focus is on how youthful MPs have performed for the last 1 year. Welcome to Prime Edition. Here are tonight's highlights. The diesel belongs to me. Businesswoman Anjeri tells Parliament over the 17 billion shillings oil tussle.
There is a figure they have for the debt owed to us, and there is a figure in our record. 90% of the times, the two figures do not agree.
NHIF dismisses claims it is unable to pay private health facilities, despite claims of owing debts running to 8 months. And when duty calls, Police Boss Japheth Kome recalls officers on leave to boost security around Christmas festive season. Brian Muraru is a sign language interpreter. My name is John Jacob Kioria. You're very much welcome to the broadcast. Now, businesswoman Anjeri failed to convince the Parliamentary Energy Committee that she is the legitimate owner of a contested 17 billion shillings oil consignment. Anjeri, who appeared before the Energy Committee of the National Assembly, submitted various documents to prove ownership of the oil consignment, but was unable to answer follow-up questions from legislators. However, the Kenya Ports Authority dismissed Anjeri's claim, saying she's yet to lodge any claim with the authority.
The disappearance of the oil consignment on November 9th this year caused a stir in the local energy sector, leaving a major pushback from top Ministry of Energy officials. The oil shipment was en route to Kenya when it allegedly vanished without a trace, sparking an extensive investigation by law enforcement agencies and global shipping authorities.
Na nimesema hapo mbele ya kwamba wakati nilifahamu na nikaelezwa ninatakikana kuwa na license, nilichukua jukumu ya kufanya application with all the documentation zilikuwa zinapatikana.
Na kule Dubai ulikuwa unauza mafuta, ulikuwa na license ya kuuza huko?
Ndio, niko nayo.
Kiasi kikubwa zaidi ushauza mafuta kule Dubai ukanunua ni mafuta kiasi gani?
Mafuta huwa ninauza, meli zangu zote huwa zinabeba 100,000 metric ton, not less than that. Ninauza mafuta ya aina mbalimbali, si product moja.
On Wednesday, Anne Njeri, who claimed ownership of the consignment, appeared before the Energy Committee of the National Assembly in a bid to prove ownership of the missing oil. According to Njeri, she procured the oil using a credit line she holds with HSBC Bank in Dubai, United Arab Emirates.
Hii mafuta ulilipia, unasema ulilipia kupitia H something bank, eh?
HSBC.
Wapi hiyo letter credit yake? Na uelewe vizuri kwamba mimi mwenyewe na wengine wa kamati tutawahi kwenda mpaka kule kwa hiyo bank, kwa sababu kwa hii mafuta pia tumepewa bank ambayo imelipa na tumeconfirm authenticity ya document.
Her revelation added a layer of complexity to an already intricate case.
Na wewe kwa hiyo katika hizi sheria hata hii mambo ya nomination, nani analeta mafuta kupitia kwa G2G au ja participate katika hizo vitu?
Hapana.
Na hata hujawahi zisikia?
Sijaisikia. Nanunua mafuta yangu katika nchi ya Russia. Na location kutoka refinery.
Investigators are now faced with the daunting task of corroborating her claims and establishing a clear chain of events leading to the vanishing of the oil consignment. Energy Committee Chair Vincent Musyoka says authorities will initiate discussions with HSBC Bank to verify the existence and validity of Njeri's credit line and the transactions associated with it. Law enforcement agencies are also seeking to determine if any foul play or internal conspiracy led to the disappearance of the oil. This comes as directors of Galana Energies distance themselves from claims that Anne Njeri is a partner in the oil importation deal. As investigations continue to unfold, the global business community awaits further developments with a bated breath as Anne Njeri insists that the consignment belongs to her. Reporting for Prime Edition from Nairobi, my name is Frederick Mwoki.
And now the Council of Governors has dismissed a report released by the Controller of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, indicating that 10 county governments failed to spend even a shilling on development in the first quarter of the current financial year. COG Chairperson Anne Waiguru, while defending the county executive, says implementation of development projects is in line or rather is rather hindered by bottlenecks such as the approval of county budgets, work plans and management of county expenditures.
Governors have told of the Control of Budget Margaret Nyakango of her Tuesday report showing that some 10 counties including Nairobi, Embu, Homa Bay, Kericho, Kilifi and Machakos did not spend a single coin on development in the first 3 months of the current financial year. The Council of Governors Chairperson Anne Waiguru claims bottlenecks such as approval of the county budget and work plans have hindered the realization of development projects and in good time. Waiguru says, and I quote, all expenditures by county governments must also be approved by the Control of Budget in line with the Constitution. Therefore, expecting uniform implementation of this expenditure is not only impractical but also irregular. End of quote. The complex procurement, according to Waiguru, slows down the uptake of development expenditure. The governors allege that county governments are also choking from huge pending bills. Giverson Minor, Prime Edition.
On security matters ahead of the festive season, and the Inspector General of Police, Japheth Kome, has recalled all police officers out on leave to boost security, as well as enhance efforts to curb road accidents in the country during the ongoing festive season, confirming that 16 people have already lost their lives in the past week on Kenyan roads. Kome cautioned motorists against flouting traffic rules to avert further road carnage.
Following a spate of fatal road accidents which have resulted in the loss of tens of lives in the past week, the National Police Service has swung into action in a bid to restore order, with Inspector General Japheth Kome promising more police visibility on the roads. According to Kome, 16 people have perished in Machakos and Nakuru counties as a result of accidents that could have been averted if motorists and other road users strictly observed traffic rules.
We have had the two major fatal road traffic accidents in which we have lost about 16 people. This was in Machakos and Nakuru. This is since last week. It is quite regrettable that most of road traffic accidents and crashes in the country are due to preventable human factors.
He lamented that the accidents have continued to negatively impact the country economically and urged Kenyans to individually take responsibility on the roads.
Uko na gari yako ya kutumia yako binafsi na familia yako umepeleka kwa matatu, tutashika wewe, you've been inconvenienced, tutapeleka kwa kotini. There's no option.
Meanwhile, Kome has promised to institute disciplinary proceedings against any police officer soliciting bribes at roadblocks.
We cannot bury our hands in the sand. Corruption, it is there. And this is what we are calling for everybody. This exchange of money with our officers will have to stop.
For Prime Edition, I'm Joseph Wahungu.
Paul Macharia has assumed office as the acting managing director of the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. Macharia says he will work with KBC staff and management to improve the services delivered to the audience. He takes over from Samuel Maina, who has served in an acting capacity since March 2022.
Welcoming the new acting managing director.
On Tuesday, Paul Macharia took over as the acting managing director at the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation.
You'll be having quite a bit to do with staff, management of staff, including their welfare, discipline, production, and everything else. So I'll give you the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation Code of Regulations.
He was handed the management instruments by the chairman of the KBC Board of Directors, Engineer Benjamin Maingi. Macharia has promised to work with the KBC staff to improve productivity at the national broadcaster.
I'll do my best to work with the management here and all staffs of KBC so that we can improve the services we deliver to the citizens of Kenya. So right now, I am prepared to learn from my colleagues here, and I think with teamwork and cooperation, we are going to work together and we improve our productivity so that this corporation can become one of the top media house in Kenya. We are a national broadcaster, and Kenyans should know us as the national broadcaster.
Macharia takes over from Samuel Maina. Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
The Ministry of Energy plans to aggregate the generation and transmission of electricity into 4 regions as a short-term measure to prevent nationwide power outages. According to the ministry, the current arrangement of transmission was causing nationwide power fluctuations whenever a single line was overloaded. Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir, while appearing before the National Assembly Energy Committee, revealed that the government also intends to put up a temporary Bomet Narok line to offload the current overloaded grid line that keeps on dipping and causing power outages. The short-term actions planned by the ministry include completion of the Kimuka substation to offload the Nairobi North and Embakasi substations.
What are the underlying issues? Have they just started? Have some of them been there? What are the remedies? What plan do you have? What are the timelines? Things we can be able to hold you to account on.
You've got a line transmitting, the NHIF to transmit 80 megawatts, like the one of Kisumu Moroni, and you are pushing it to carry 120. And when a problem happens elsewhere, it is forced to suck more power, up to 120, 140. And it will just have to give way. Either it burns down or it drips, like when the house drips, it is dripping for security of the house. So under the constraints, we have Narok Bomet, which already has funding and has got a timeline. We have got Kitale, Takwel, Otun Kitale, it has got funding.
The National Health Insurance Fund, NHIF, has dismissed claims that it is unable to pay debts owed to private health facilities. NHIF Chief Executive Officer Elijah Washira says the Social Protection Fund remains committed to providing quality services to Kenyans seeking medical attention and in accordance with contracts signed between them and all healthcare providers. The Rural Private Hospitals Association of Kenya had accused NHIF of reneging on payment running to 8 months.
Rural Private Hospitals Association of Kenya claims that NHIF owes them over 20 billion Kenya shillings for health services offered to NHIF beneficiaries. Association chairperson Brandy Shenga says health services in the health centers are crippled by the non-payment.
Kuanzia mwezi wa June mwaka huu, hospitali hazijapata hela zozote kutoka NHIF. Wakati wanalipa 5%, wanalipa 10%. Hawa washikadau katika sekta ya afya hivi leo wanafuta wafanyikazi wao kazi. Suppliers hawajalipwa, wale suppliers wa madawa. Wengi wao hawezi mudu hata kulipa electricity bills ama water bills.
The hospitals are now demanding that patients insured by NHIF foot 60% of the bills if NHIF failed to pay the pending claims in 7 days.
All hospitals will charge a fee of Kenya shillings 1,000 for outpatient care. Admissions, surgeries, maternity care, cancer care, dialysis will also be subject to cash payment on a case-by-case basis.
NHIF has, however, dismissed the claims and attributes the delay in payment to the transition to the newly created Social Health Insurance Fund.
NHIF on a weekly basis makes payments to providers. So there is no static figure of how much we owe providers at a certain time. The one thing I can tell you is that NHIF makes payments periodically.
The 60% demand on patients covered by NHIF, according to the CEO, is a breach of contract.
If I hear a hospital is asking my patients for 60% of what is payable, then number one, they can only claim the 40% from me, because if they claimed more, they'll be fraudulent.
Earlier this year, President William Ruto signed to law 3 health bills, among them the Social Health Insurance Fund, which have been suspended by the High Court pending hearing and determination of a case filed seeking to stop the implementation. Kasichana Masha, Prime Edition.
Some sad stories here in Griffin. Fear has engulfed Matevete village in Kakamega County following the brutal murder of a school deputy principal in unclear circumstances. Police, in the meantime, are holding 4 suspects who pounced on a businessman in Lodwar, attempting to rob him of about 300,000 Kenya shillings. Tilio Marco reports.
Residents of Matete village in Malava, Kakamega County are living in fear following the brutal murder of a deputy principal of a school who was strangled to death in a house under unclear circumstances. The perpetrators had reportedly locked the house from inside before committing the heinous act.
Hao watu waliua yeye, walimtoa nguo, wakachukua leso yake, wakamfunga kwa shingo, wakamnyonga. Alikufa kwa kifo kigumu sana, kifo cha uchungu.
Still in Kakamega, Irate residents of Dukamoja village descended on 3 elderly persons on suspicion of involvement in witchcraft.
Mimi ndio nilikuwa wa kwanza kuenda moja kumtambua. Nilipomtambua nikaona ndugu yangu amekatwa panga vibaya sana. Sana. Hata nikashutuka.
Meanwhile, police are holding 4 suspected criminals at the Lodwar police station in Turkana County after a failed attempt to rob a businessman of about 300,000 shillings. Gabriel Maraga was trailed by the suspects as he went to withdraw the cash from a local bank, then robbed in his car.
So, nika suspect haraka sana. Hii gari yenye iko nyuma yangu ina reverse ndio imenipora. Nikaifuata, nikipiga simu kwa ofisi ya police.
One suspect is at large by the name Akoskei, who escaped, and the officers are on hot pursuit, and we know we are going to nab him.
Residents are calling on security agencies to enhance security in the town, especially during this festive season. Tilio Marco for Prime Edition.
Embu County Police Commander Nicholas Maine is calling for a change in tact in efforts to dissuade the youth from engaging in crime. Maine says many youth engage in crime because they lack proper guidance. More of this in the county news briefs.
Police officers in Embu have engaged a section of youth in a rare but important mentorship sessions. The officers challenged the youth to be mindful of the groupings they engage.
Kuja ku-engage na vijana, kuambia kwamba uhalifu wa ulipi. Tumejadiliana na wao na tukaweza kuwafunza mambo mengi. Tumewaambia vile crime inaweza haribu maisha yao usoni, kwa sababu tumewaambia ukiingilia katika mambo ya jinai huku miaka ya mbele, wakati utatafuta kazi hautapata kitu inaitwa good conduct, kwa sababu good conduct itaindicate ya kwamba ulifanya makosa. Kwa hivyo utakuwa na changamoto ya kutafuta kazi.
Meanwhile, women have been challenged to go beyond stereotypes and break the glass ceiling. Networking in Hills showcases career women who have seen a lot of development in their career and professional growth and wishes to share their stories and inspire the women in careers, businesses and entrepreneurships.
In Hills is a platform, a forum, an event for women to come together and interact with one another in a safe space, in a relaxed space, and a professional banner. So they interact for business causes, they interact for friendship, they interact for career advancement, they interact for mentorship, and they interact in a way that adds value to their own lives.
Elsewhere, social development groups in Kisii South Sub-County have received a financial boost to strengthen the ongoing economic activities under the National Government Affirmative Action Fund.
Hii kidogo yenye tumepata, tutainuka sisi kama wamama wa Kisii. Come next year, akikuja kurudi mara ya pili, tutapata tumeendelea zaidi na we will keep on growing.
Meanwhile, the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation has bid farewell to retiring members of staff in a joyous ceremony at the Broadcasting House.
Retirement is not the end of the road. That's a fact. There's a whole new kind of life ahead and full of experience just waiting to happen.
Finally, more Kenyans are coming out to share in the spirit of Christmas. Various groups in Kisii and Trans Nzoia counties received gifts from well-wishers who in turn urged Kenyans to take pride in giving this festive season.
Minto Foundation ni kikundi kimeanzishwa na wana diaspora, wana wa Gusii wametoka Kisii pande zote za Gusii, wanakaa diaspora, na tumesema wakati wa Christmas turudishe mkono nyumbani kule tumetoka.
Adelaide Sabiri reporting for Prime Edition.
All right, that story takes us to a very fast breather on Prime Edition. But just a reminder, as we focus on what has been happening in the country for the last 1 year, we'll also be taking stock of what youthful members of Parliament have been doing in the Senate and in the National Assembly. Tonight, I engage the Member of Parliament for Manyata, that is Gitonga Mukunji, as well as governance expert engineer Crispas Wadhimba. That conversation is upcoming later. But for now, let's take that breather.
Unangoja nini?
Namna ya kucheza Lucky Game sasa imerahisishwa. Dial *570# na 31st of December magari haya mawili na mtangaza mshindi. Ni rahisi, *570#.
Kwenye ulimwengu wa sasa, taaluma za mikono zina umaarufu mwingi. Jiunge na Sensei Institute of Technology tukupe ujuzi na uzoefu wa kushughulikia ulimwengu. Tunafunza taaluma kama plant operator, plant mechanics, kuendesha gari na trailer, kuweka CCTV na alarm, kuweka solar, kuweka stima, motorcycle, motor vehicle mechanics na electronics, teknolojia ujenzi wa mijengo, ujenzi wa barabara na mabwawa, hospitality na taaluma nyinginezo. Kujiunga nasi, beba kitambulisho chako na utembelee tawi letu lolote. Sensei College. My skills, my future.
Shamra shamra za Krismasi zikipiga hodi, nasi hapa Shoro FM hatuachwi nyuma. Stesheni yako ipendayo imekuandalia tafrija ya hali ya juu, ukipenda Shoro Mugithi Night, itakayofanyika Jamii Executive Gardens Mwea tarehe 22 Disemba. Kajay Salim, Salim Young, na wasanii wengine watakuwa live on stage. Jiunge nasi tukiadhimisha miaka 23 ya utangazaji bora na utangamani na watangazaji wa Shoro FM wakikuletea vipindi live kutoka Mwea. Vinywaji na vyakula ni kwa wingi. Sherehe itapigwa hadi che. Usikose.
Welcome back. The government has dispatched food items and medical supplies to Wajir County as part of its floods mitigation efforts. While presiding over the exercise, the Secretary to the Cabinet, Mercy Wanjau, says the government will continue to monitor the situation across the country as the rains continue to pound the country so that every citizen affected by the floods is assisted.
The items are loaded at the Moe Air Base on Wednesday morning. Senior government officials, among them Secretary to the Cabinet Mercy Wanjau, Cabinet Affairs Principal Secretary Dr. Idris Dukwata and Government Spokesperson Isaac Moura, at hand to preside over the hand of consignment to National Government Administration and county government officials.
Our Kenyan Defence Force.
The handing over was at the National Cereals and Produce Board Depot in Wajir County. Secretary to the Cabinet Mercy Wanjau reiterating the government's commitment to repair critical infrastructure to fast-track delivery of aid items.
Tunajua sote the damage and the disconnect that happens when roads are damaged, and we have heard your request about the restoration of these roads to be fast-tracked. Mambo ya stima, kwa maana bila stima kuna mambo mingi ambayo haiwezi kuendelezwa vitakavyo, na hayo nimeelewa.
A report compiled by the County Commissioner's Office shows that as of November 21st, 2023, an estimated 11,600 households have been affected by the floods, with 7 deaths reported. Critical infrastructure like roads, bridges, schools, farms and water supply were also affected, with 75 boreholes and 54 water pans in Wajir damaged, necessitating urgent intervention. Locals have hailed the government's move.
It's also necessary as a government, both at national and county, we address long-term predicaments, particularly on matters road networks in this part of the country.
Ilikuwa hali yetu ilikuwa mbaya sana. Vile maji imesumbua sisi, hata mimi mwenyewe sahi kitanda yangu iko nje imefunjika.
We have actually gone deep, ensuring that there was sufficient food to be distributed in all the 18 or 19 counties affected, non-food items distributed, and at the same time, distribution of medicine, which was very important.
In the meantime, the government spokesman has defended the government against allegations of overtaxation. He says Kenya ranks amongst the countries recording the lowest inflation in food prices and was keen on implementing President William Ruto's plan on economic recovery.
Our inflation has reduced from 9%, over 9%, to the current 6.8%. Just last month alone, it has reduced from 6.9 to 6.8%. And that tells you our country has got very good fiscal or monetary policy. We as Kenyans know that when we pay taxes, it is actually for us to be self-reliant. And there are 1,400 Kenyans, young people, who have been given the work of ensuring that they provide for revenue service. They graduated from Eldoret, and they are Kenyans who have been given jobs.
Despite several interventions already done by the national government, it now says it remains committed to working with every affected county government to ensure that the affected citizens are alleviated from the effects of the floods. Yusufa reporting for Prime Edition in the county of Wajir.
All right, now we begin our end-of-year series, and what a year this has been as we bid farewell to another remarkable year, the year 2023. Let us take a moment to reflect on the captivating stories that unfolded in the segment Cinemas and Theatre, a KBC weekly feature that focuses on locally produced films and stage drama.
Our local cinema has seen a surge in creativity with narratives that not only entertain but also resonate with the diverse fabric of Kenyan culture. The year 2023 showcased our depth and breadth of our cinematic prowess.
Kibera si mahali pa kulelea kijana, jui Kibera anavyoijua.
It is almost like a dream come true for a 17-year-old boy who is a talented footballer, but he is torn between the thrills of crime and the promises of soccer. Pepeta is a film based on the real-life story of Harun Rio Wathari, who hails from Kibera. The 8-part series captures the dreams and realities of the youth in Kibera, a place considered the hotbed of football talent.
Unaona mkacheza vile umecheza leo sato hivyo. Hiyo tona ni yetu man. Kama tona big utachezaje bila Gwanda?
Pepeta follows 3 entertaining stories. Junior is a 17-year-old talented footballer torn between the thrills of crime and the promises of soccer.
These children are out of control.
Kefa is an unforgiving cop with a personal vendetta determined to rid the streets of criminals. And Biki, an ambitious football coach determined to get Junior and his friends scouted before the barrel of the gun cuts short their dreams.
I got my cast through audition, so it was interesting seeing some of them were, actually the majority of them are new faces to the screen. The workshop really helped them.
One thing I had to go to read newspapers, get to see how the whole thing goes around, and watch around how people behave, how cops behave, how thugs behave, and then after that as an actor I have to find myself, I have to listen to myself and get to understand what does it entail to play Kefa and to bring out Kefa, of course with the help of the director.
Produced by CJ3 Entertainment and directed by Vincent Mbaya, Pepeta builds on the success of other Showmax originals in Kenya, like the political thriller series County 49, the thriller series Igiza, the police procedural and legal drama Crime and Justice, and the coming-of-age film Baba Twins.
Our industry is working and it's going, so I urge all filmmakers out there, let us join together, work together, and improve our industry and head forward. Yeah.
Hizi boots. Kishi na bunduki, unakufa na bunduki.
In the corridors of theatre, we saw I Will Marry When I Want, a play that is almost 50 years by renowned playwright Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o, winning huge in the 2023 Kenya Theatre Awards.
I will marry when I want. Gahika Deda.
The Kikuyu version of the play Gahika Deda took home the Best Kikwetu Production Vernacular Shows Award.
May theatre live on and become stronger every year. Thank you very much.
Its return to the Kenyan National Theatre, essentially hosted by the government's Cultural Center, is evidence of how far Kenya's creative scene has come in freely expressing itself.
My first professional show was actually right here, Luanda Man of Stone. It's been a long journey, 20 years. I can say this with relative certainty that there is no award that means more to an artist than the award handed to him by his peers.
The theatre industry in Kenya is currently experiencing a major resurgence, which has been fueled by the recent focus on theatre and the establishment of the platforms to honor the craft.
I have a slot in the musical. Would you be interested?
Yes. Can I go?
The incorporation of students in film productions clearly features in the 2023 highlights. It focuses on students telling their own stories, emphasizing the need to prepare them early for the film industry.
Our first story, and everyone is talking about this, is the upcoming musical
play to be held in our school.
I'm a super girl, yeah, you know that I'm a winner, yeah. Champion girl, kila kitu nitashinda, yeah. I know I can do.
Born to Shine, a film by Maya Entertainment and Greenview School's Kamulu, is a colorful and hopeful musical about two girls from different backgrounds who compete for a coveted lead musical role. A musical play is introduced on the first day of school and everyone can't wait to participate.
Mama, what is it, Bella?
Bella, talented, confident and popular, is expected to bag the lead role. But Anna, smart and funny, convinces her best friend Sheila to audition for the same role in order to gain respect from her oppressor, Bella. The movie evokes feelings of friendship, family and betrayal.
My sweet babe.
There are some of the things, if you are able to be, you are taught or say you are socialized, as far as, as early as you are young. Now it becomes very easy for you because you grow with it. Then by the time you become of age, you will have had so many ideas, you will have the experience, the expertise. Unlike when you learn those skills when you are way too old.
I'm a super girl, yeah, you know that I'm a winner, yeah. Champion girl, kila kitu nitashinda, yeah. I know I can do what I wanna do. I know I can do.
Jacqueline Masharia for Cinemas and Theatre.
After the declaration of the 2022 elections, the Azimio coalition contested the poll. And of course, you remember that election declared President William Ruto as the President of the Republic of Kenya. Later, the Azimio coalition tied that with the increasing cost of living to call for demonstrations across the street. And in order to tame the demonstrations, President William Ruto, in a bipartisan move, announced the formation of a bipartisan committee that, of course, authored a report that was released about 2 weeks ago. Giverson Minor looks at the events that shaped the release of that National Dialogue report.
I, Wafula Chebukati, Chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, hereby declares that Ruto William Samoei.
August 15, 2022, William Ruto is declared president-elect by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission at the Bomas of Kenya, following one of the most competitive general elections of August 9, 2022. But a day later, on August 16, 2022, Raila Odinga, his running mate Martha Karua, and other Azimio leaders in a press conference rejected the election results, citing a split in the IBC.
Totally and without reservations, reject the presidential results announced yesterday by Mr. Chebukati.
The IBC split had pitted Chebukati's team of 3 against the famous Cherera 4, who through the then IBC Vice Chair Juliana Cherera disowned the outcome of the results, saying the then IBC Chair Wafula Chebukati broke the law on poll results. This boosted the Azimio's bid to mount a spirited fight in the Supreme Court. However, in their ruling on September 5, 2022, the Supreme Court judges established that William Ruto had been validly elected and the elections had met the required constitutional threshold.
We declare the election of the first respondent as president-elect to be varied under Article 143 of the Constitution.
I, William Samoei Ruto.
This paved the way for President Ruto, then President-elect, to be sworn in as duly elected 5th President of the Republic of Kenya, together with his deputy Rigathi Gachagua at Kasarani Stadium on September 13, 2022, succeeding President Uhuru Kenyatta. But Raila was adamant that his win had been stolen, and in March 2023, he called his supporters for mass action after a 14-day ultimatum to the government lapsed. Raila's successful rallying of supporters around the disputed election coincided with an increase in the cost of living due to the new tax regimes and removal of fuel subsidy. The hikes in fuel, sugar and maize flour prices fueled public anger towards the government. The opposition capitalized on this sentiment, portraying Ruto's administration as insensitive and failing to fulfill the pro-poor Kenya Kwanza campaign promises. The subsequent public protests in Raila's strongholds led to property destruction and the looting of businesses, derailing the country's economic progress, which was already being battered by soaring inflation. Police action against protesters resulted in injuries and deaths. The weekly protests lasted for weeks, with religious leaders and foreign missions mounting pressure on Raila Odinga and President Ruto to initiate dialogue. In an address to the nation on April 2, 2023, at State House, President William Ruto proposed for a bipartisan parliamentary engagement to address the opposition's concerns, among them the recruitment of new IBC commissioners.
I urge my brother Raila Odinga and the opposition to call off the demonstrations and to give this bipartisan approach a chance.
The same day, Raila Odinga, in a press conference with other Azimio leaders, announced a decision to call off the demonstrations that was scheduled for the following week. This, he said, was to allow the engagement with the state on the reconstitution of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. He, however, threatened that the twice-weekly protests would resume in a week if there was no meaningful engagement.
In view of the foregoing, we stand down our demonstrations for Monday, that is tomorrow, April 3rd, 2023.
On April 6th, Azimio la Umoja Coalition then unveiled a 7-member team for the bipartisan talks with the government side. They included Narok Senator Ledama Olekina, Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna, Kitui Senator Enoch Kwambua, Malindi MP Amina Mnyazi, Suba North MP Emilio Odhiambo, Pokot South MP David Kasing, and Roreda MP Otiende Amolo as their chair. Days later, on April 11th, Kenya Kwanza named its team, comprising of Kakamega Senator Boni Halwale, Bomet Senator Hilary Kosgei, nominated Senator Esio Kenyeru, Taita Taveta Woman Representative Lydia Haika, Kibwezi West MP Mwengi Mutuse, Elders MP Adan Kinan, and Tharaka MP George Murugara as their chair. However, the talks hit a snag following a disagreement over the composition of the 14-member team. On its part, Azimio said the inclusion of Elders MP Adan Kinan in the talks was in bad faith, claiming he legally belonged to the Azimio coalition but had shifted allegiance to the government. On the other hand, Kenya Kwanza claimed Pokot South MP David Kasing of KU Party was legally a member of Kenya Kwanza Alliance but had turned a rebel. The government side finally gave in and replaced Adan Kinan with Sakwe MP Dido Rasa of UDA Party. And despite the bipartisan committee agreeing on the terms of engagement, the two sides were staring at a fallout barely a month later after Azimio's side accused the government of failing to honor the demands, among them to stop the process of the recruitment of the IBC commissioners. The persistent disagreements would later see Azimio making true their threats of suspending the talks, dissolution of the committee, and the return of the street demos.
Tutakuwa na mgomo na maandamano siku ya Jumatatu.
Religious organizations and foreign missions again began to mount pressure on the two sides to return to the negotiation table and unlock the deadlock. This would also see famous U.S. Senator Chris Coons fly into the country and separately meet the president and the opposition leader over the matter. Weeks into phase 2 of demos, the two sides again named an extra Parliamentary National Dialogue Committee of 5 members from each side to revisit the talks. Azimio picked Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka as the head of its team, DAP Party leader Eugene Wamalwa, National Assembly Minority Leader Opiyo Wandayi, Malindi MP Amina Mnyazi, and Nyamira Senator Kongo Mogeni. Kenya Kwanza settled on National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah and named him a co-chair. Kericho Senator Aaron Cheruiyot, Embu Governor Cecily Mbarire, Bungoma Woman Representative Catherine Wabilianga, and Yala MP Hassan Omar. A second attempt to resolve the stalemate began on August 14th after Parliament passed a motion to formally recognize the committee. The negotiations would last for 30 days without resolving the contentious issues that now included the housing levy and value-added tax on fuel. The talks, however, shown progress but sought an extension of their mandate from the Parliament for a further 30 days to conclude the talks. Kalonzo and Kimani-led talks call for input from stakeholders and experts in a public participation process. As their mandate ended after 60 days, the team delivered a report, famously called NADCO report, to the President, the opposition leader, and the Parliament for consideration. In the report signed by co-chairs Kalonzo Musyoka of Azimio Coalition and Kimani Ichung'wah of Kenya Kwanza, the committee recommended the evolution of 2022 electoral process, the expansion of the IBC selection panel from the current 7-member to a 9-member panel, the increase of timelines of the Supreme Court to hear and determine a presidential election petition from 14 to 21 days. Legal reforms passed less than 18 months to the general elections become effective in the next electoral cycle. Entrenchment of NGCDA funds into the Constitution, establishment of office of the Leader of Opposition and Prime Minister, and the establishment of the Independent Political Parties Regulatory Commission responsible for the registration of political parties and their office holders.
I want to congratulate all the teams that were involved in the dialogue process. They have come up with recommendations.
They have disclosed a failure to strike an agreement on Azimio's concerns on the cost of living, including value-added tax on fuel and the housing levy that was heavily rejected by the Azimio coalition. However, as the report awaits implementation, Jubilee Party, headed by retired President Uhuru Kenyatta, and now Kenya, led by Martha Karua, have termed the report as a waste of public resources for failing to address the cost of living.
The cost of fuel, which is pushing the cost of living upwards. We want the additional tax of 8% removed.
However, the report has a backing of Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka, who demand that a referendum must be held to implement the report, a proposal the Kenya Kwanza Alliance has rejected. According to the Center for Multi-Party Democracy chairperson Priscilla Nyokabi, the talks have ensured peace and stability for business to thrive, but the recruitment of the IBC commissioners must be resolved to avoid a constitutional crisis in the 2024 boundaries delimitation. She, however, cautions that the country is not ready for referendum.
I don't think we have a luxury of any more time around implementation of the National Dialogue Report. I think that report should be implemented so that questions like the IBC are then resolved. Even if you do a phased approach, in phase 1, we resolve these ones, because even for us, the 2/3 gender rule is also a very pressing matter.
Political analyst Arnold Maliba says the resolution to establish new state offices could be challenged in court.
For public projects, it's quite vigorous. It takes a little bit of much more dialogue than what happens in Parliament. Sometimes we take our dialogue as far as court, where the judiciary has to be the arbiter and have the final word on the conversations we have as a nation.
Kenyans remain optimistic that the national dialogue will find a long-lasting solution to the country's political and governance challenges, and that peace and calm will prevail to provide a conducive environment for businesses to thrive as the country ushers new year of 2024. Give us Nmaina, KBC Channel 1.
tukakuja tukaambia watu wetu pesa yenye inatakikana hiyo 60,000. Tumejaribu kutafuta, tukiambia watu wa nyumbani washughuliki, tukiambia badada zangu wengine washughuliki, tunajaribu kuambia tauzeni shapa tupige hizo picha, hakuna mtu anashughulika. Kila mtu ametuachilia na dadangu kila tu tunang'ang'ana nazo hapa kukunywa. Hakuna mtu anataka kujua maisha yangu itakuwaje kesho, atataka kujua watoto wangu watasurvive aje. Nimeshi kutapika damu hapa tukiwaambia, hakuna mtu anastuka, hakuna mtu anakujenga kutuona hapa. Mimi na dadangu ndo tunaishi hapa peke yetu tuking'ang'ana. Dadangu ana kazi, ana mtu anategemea, kenye tunapata msaada kidogo ndo tunakula.
This holiday season on KBC Channel 1, we bring you a host of entertainment content. Family.
Hi family. Let's build a great house.
Drama.
When wait. Did you marry me for love or this money? You hesitated.
Action. Adventure. Fantasy movies.
Your mom knows a king? I've always wanted to be a princess.
Laughter. Melodious carols. Music by the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra.
I have an idea.
This really spicy.
And many more. Watch KBC Channel 1 this December for your best holiday entertainment.
Have a blessed festive season.
You weren't going to be here, Anne?
No way, that would be insane. Of course I'm not going to miss such an important event in your life, my dear.
I know that woman is to be blamed. She's the reason why my son killed himself.
Rodrigo, you're not going to marry Lucia.
I already told you that I will marry your sister.
Because I don't want Rodrigo to marry Lucia.
She's getting married and you're not going to stop it.
She won't stop bothering me until I break up with Lucia, and the way that woman is acting now, I love Lucia and we're getting married
tomorrow. Then if
tomorrow.
you love her, don't put your relationship in jeopardy. And you better leave my daughter alone.
Good evening to you. Thank you for keeping it KBC Channel 1 and watching Prime Edition. My name is Betta Kiptum. Here is the business. Kenya is targeting to attract investments worth 1 trillion shillings in the next 3 years. The Kenya Investment Authority says this will be achieved through aggressive marketing, products diversification, and reforming the country's investment policies. Ken Invest Acting Chief Executive June Chepkemei says this will also be guided by a new 5-year strategic plan, which was launched today.
Kenya's stock of foreign direct investment has been dropping due to various factors such as COVID-19 pandemic and a deteriorating global investment climate. According to the government statistics between 2015 and 2021, Kenya's total stock of FDIs stood at $10.1 billion. The number of new investment projects has also nosedived by almost 60% over the same 3 years period, from 95 in 2019 to 39 in 2021. The Kenya Investment Authority says it has developed a clear roadmap to drive investment.
Answer the so what question by focusing on building bankable investment opportunities and creating awareness for those specific opportunities so that investors can engage with the product so they can really be able to make decisions on, and that means we refine and promote bankable investment opportunities going into the future.
Kenvest says it's targeting investments worth 1 trillion shillings from foreign investors. Trade and Investment Principal Secretary Abubakar Hassan Abubakar said the new plan aims to enhance Kenya's investment climate and attract more domestic and foreign investments, further driving economic growth and job creation.
The Cabinet has just approved a business climate action plan chaired by the CS Rebecca Miano. In the next 6 months, we will have a business reform action plan with an implementation matrix to focus on the cost of doing business. We believe in the next 6 months, if we turn around our investment facilitation framework and make our business climate optimal in the next 6 months, we'll be able to convert all these leads.
The new plan has a strong focus on key sectors such as manufacturing, agriculture, technology and infrastructure development.
The Investment Council has already been established and operationalized. Its primary objective is to advise the government and its agencies on strategies to boost investment and stimulate economic growth in Kenya.
KenInvest's Chief Executive June Chepkemei further says the new 5-year strategic plan aims to create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive and contribute to Kenya's sustainable development goals. Edna Murungi for Prime Edition.
Now, David Mugonyi has been appointed as the new Director General for the Communications Authority of Kenya. The appointment follows the exit of Ezra Chiloba, who resigned from his position earlier in October. Until his appointment, Mugonyi has been the head of Presidential Communication Services.
In a letter dated 19th December 2023, reads the statement from CS Owalo conveying approval for the appointment of Mr. David Mugonyi as the Director General of the Communications Authority of Kenya. Mugonyi emerged as the best out of 15 candidates who had been interviewed for the position, according to a dispatch from the Communications Authority Chair Mary Wamboi. The CA Director General position became vacant after Chiloba resigned on October 19th, 2023. Chiloba, who had served as the DG since 2021, after taking over from Francis Wangusi, was suspended following an internal audit that accused him of financial impropriety. Elsewhere, Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir has confirmed the appointment of Rose Mkalama as the Chief Executive Officer of Rural Electrification and Renewable Energy Corporation, REREC. Mkalama has been acting as the CEO for the last 3 months at the corporation. In a statement, Chirchir said Mkalama has a rich experience in public service spanning over 30 years. Mkalama had earlier been appointed to the position of General Manager of Information, Education and Communication in 2021, a position she held until she was appointed the acting CEO. The Energy CS has also confirmed Justus Wabuyabo as the Chief Executive Officer of the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency. Wabuyabo has been the acting NUPEA CEO for the last 6 months before his confirmation. Wabuyabo joined NUPEA in 2019 as a Director of Legal and Regulatory Services and Corporation Secretary. He previously served as the General Manager of Legal and Corporate Services at the National Water and Harvesting Authority. Ndutamo Kami for Prime Edition.
The Kenya Bureau of Standards plans to modernize its testing laboratories in a bid to scale up surveillance of counterfeit products in the Kenyan market. KEB's Managing Director Esther Ngari says this will enhance the global competitiveness of Kenyan products.
The Anti-Counterfeit Authority estimates that the country loses more than 100 billion shillings annually in missed revenues due to counterfeits and related illicit trade in the local market. In a bid to reduce counterfeit products in the Kenyan market, the Kenya Bureau of Standards is planning to scale up its laboratory modernization strategy to step up its counterfeit surveillance efforts.
This step is crucial to ensuring that our standards and testing facilities are at the forefront of global advancements, fostering innovation and enhancing the competitiveness of our industry.
The modernization venture, the regulator says, is a significant step in ensuring locally produced goods meet international standards.
We are the people who have safeguarded this institution, is not even the army. Because if KEBS slept on their job and they allowed all manner of toxic things to pass through the borders at the port, even the army could not defend the institution.
Investments, Trade and Industry Cabinet Secretary Rebecca Miano has encouraged KEBS to enhance integrity and good governance to make Kenya a favorable global marketplace in light of recently signed trade agreements.
It is possible to enjoy your career and to work in your career without having a date on Kiambu Road, without ever interacting with people from Valley Road, without ever having a file with any disciplinary issue.
Benson Ruba reporting for Prime Edition.
And that is the business news we had for you this evening. Do have yourself a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. My name is Betty Kiptum. Good night.
In a world filled with uncertainty, there is one thing we can always count on: the power of compassion and generosity. Every day, families in Kenya face unimaginable challenges and hardships. They struggle to put food on the table, provide shelter for their loved ones, and access basic health care. But today, you have the power to make a difference. By just contributing 1 shilling and 50 cents from your airtime, your generosity can provide access to sanitary pads, nutritious food, clean water, education, and life-saving medical care to those who need it most. To support this cause, please tune in to your favorite radio station under the KBC umbrella for step-by-step instructions on how to subscribe. KBC Helping Hands. Together, we can make a difference and bring hope to those in need.
These are the moments we live for every Friday as we catch up with the world of football.
Manchester City go in front.
With your favorite stars in rivalries like no other that keeps you on the edge of your seat. Learn a few tricks that keep you ahead of the game and spice it all with unforgettable moments on Dunda Dunda. On Saturday, you're in for another treat as we rock your weekend with all sporting disciplines, bringing you insights on what's happening behind the scenes as we share players and athlete stories, preparations, and celebrate their achievements.
Charging to the line. Is it going to be a world record? Yes, it is. She smashed it.
Whatever angle you look at, we've got you covered. KBC Channel 1. Your true sports partner.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on Prime Edition Sports. I'm Bernard Okumu, and let's begin with basketball, where Alexandria Sporting Club are the champions of the inaugural FIBA Africa Women's Basketball League. The Egyptian side defeated Kenya's KPA 103-59 baskets in the final match played last night in Alexandria. Angola's Inter Club finished third after humbling Rwanda's side REG 83-68 baskets in the third place playoff match.
Here's Bannister from three-point land. Yes.
KPA had started the match strongly, leading 5-0 through Natalie Mwangale and Victoria Reynolds. However, Fatou Diagne, Sarah Dillard and Destiny Pitt helped the Egyptian side respond quickly to win the first and second quarters 22-15 and 36-17 respectively to lead 58-32 at halftime. After the break, the hosts continued their dominance and registered 45 more points to win the match. This was the second time the two sides were meeting in the competition, having faced each other in the group stages where Alexandria Sporting Club won 102-77. Hagar Amer was Alexandria's club's best player after scoring 32 points, while Victoria Reynolds scored 12 points for KPA. Inter Club of Angola won bronze after humbling Rwanda's side REG 83-68 in the third place playoff match, while another Kenyan side, Equity Hawks, finished sixth after they lost 83-53 to Nigerian side Customs.
This is what's deemed to be their revenge game against Sporting.
And to tennis now, where Angela Okutoi, who became the first Kenyan to win a Grand Slam doubles title at the Girls Juniors Wimbledon event last year, has qualified for the quarterfinals of the ongoing ITF World Tennis Tour at the Nairobi club. Other players who also booked their tickets to the quarters include Ukraine's Valeria Strakova, Fanny Ostland of Sweden, France duo of Lusing Yen Tan and Imalin, Sadana Himana of Burundi, Germany's Lina Papadakis, and Mirjana Tona from Italy.
Okutoi defeated Slovakia's Victoria Marv.
And we apologize for the mix-up. Let's go over to Tong Ilmodona, where Kenya finished top of the medal charts during the three-day Mombasa Open Tong Ilmodo International Martial Arts Championship, which culminated at the Aga Khan Academy in Mombasa. The 11th edition of the Games attracted 12 other countries. Hosts Kenya, with a large number of entries, clinched a total of 191 medals, 46 gold, 52 silver, and 93 bronze, to finish first ahead of Zambia, who are placed second with 23 medals, while Philippines collected 11 medals to complete the podium places.
Request to the Ministry of Sports to partner with us so that we can have weekly county training clinics whereby instructors travel to different parts of the countries, different part of the country, to train the locals with the motive of scouting for future instructors who can lead the federation in those areas. We have presence in 14 counties, and our plan is by end of 2025 be in all 47 counties solidly.
In some of the individual results, Senegal Taekwondo Open bronze winner Pauline Zawadi finished first in individual forms female category after collecting 8.2 points ahead of Zambia's Chitali Natalie and Mildred Akinyi, who were placed in second and third places respectively. India's Desikira Rika was crowned the winner in the junior girls category after seeing off Kenya's Eunice Mwende by 3 points to 2. In another junior girls category, Mwanasheban Bakari emerged victorious as Mukiti Kamene and Buto Besi were ranked in second and third positions respectively. Jason Ofano won the 18-year-old green to blue title ahead of Atman Bakari and Nazir Raphael.
We are keen on developing the talents of our youth. You all know the ministry right now is really putting emphasis on the development of sporting talents as a way of getting income to our youth and getting something to do away from the idleness that the youth can easily be lured into when they are not doing it. So
we wish that collaboration can be more developed between Zambia and Kenya so that we can learn, because we always learn for those who are winning. And we know that Kenya is on the track of winning. And those who are winning are those who teach those who want to be winners.
The championship attracted 12 countries, among them Zambia, Philippines, Iran, India, Paraguay, Nigeria, Japan, Democratic Republic of Congo, Brazil, South Korea, Thailand, and Cote d'Ivoire. And to football now, where former champions Tusk FC secured a 1-0 victory over Kenya Police in one of the FKFPL midweek matches played at Machakos Stadium. After a goalless first half, the match was destined for a 0-0 draw, but substitute Fabian Adikin netted the winning goal deep in stoppage time to hand the former champions, the maximum points from that particular match. Now, also in other results that were of the matches that were played today, Sofapaka lost 1-0 to host Muhoroni Youth, while FC Leopards and Moranga still played out to a 1-1 all draw at St. Sebastian's Park. Now, the matches continue tomorrow, where 4 matches will be played. Still on soccer, where the 7th edition of the Migori Youth Peace Soccer Tournament, which is set to be held between the 21st and 31st of this month in Migori County, has received a sponsorship booster from Extreme Sports. Now, the event has attracted 36 grassroots football clubs within the county. FKF Migori Branch Secretary Bernard Odongo says the tournament is a rare opportunity to identify, award and promote talent in the region. Now, Extreme Sports Director Hussein Mohammed says the tournament, which aims at nurturing soccer talents at the grassroots, provides an outlet for channeling energy and passion, diverting attention from conflict and promoting healthy interaction in the community.
If we are divided and threatening each other, it's critical that we join hands and build the sport together. You have the right to develop football at your level. You have the right to seek sponsorship. You have the right to partner with whoever you want to partner with in football development.
We're very much happy that this time we have had some partnership that will see our youth develop holistically. We are very much thankful.
Well, and on that note is how we end tonight's edition of Sports on Prime Edition. I'm Bernardo Kumo. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.
You weren't going to be here, Anne?
No way, that would be insane. Of course I'm not going to miss such an important event in your life, my dear.
I know that woman is to be blamed. She's the reason why my son killed himself.
Rodrigo, you're not going to marry Lucia.
I already told you that I will marry your sister.
Because I don't want Rodrigo to marry Lucia.
She's getting married and you're not going to stop it.
She won't stop bothering me until I break up with Lucia, and the way that woman is acting now, I love Lucia and we're getting married
Then if
tomorrow.
you love her, don't put your relationship in jeopardy. And you better leave my daughter alone.
Wanadai wamepewa na wewe.
No, na kuuliza walipewa na nani? Can you answer me appropriately?
They say allegedly they were given it by
Ikikasirika hata urembo yako sitaona. They normally say I'm more of a black American, you know. I'm a pastor.
Pastor kama wewe.
Ulibatizwa nini?
Hebu tuendelee.
Ile maji ilikubatiza ilibadilika rangi.
Sasa
unaishi wapi?
Wewe unaishi hapa Kenya ama unaishi?
Niko Kenya saa hii mwisho.
Pande gani unaishi wapi?
Kariobangi. Wewe na mnakaa leo.
On Prime Edition, we're focusing on the performance of youthful MPs. 1 year on, I'm hosting the Member of Parliament for Manyata, the Honorable Gitonga Mukunji, and also Engineer Crispas Wathimba, a governance expert, both of them to give us, what you will call an incisive look into the performance of the Members of Parliament. Both of you are very much welcome. Na karibuni sana. Probably to start off with you, Mheshimiwa Mukunji, because it's you on the weighing scale. How do you think, as Members of Parliament, youthful Members of Parliament, you've been able to perform for the last 1 year?
Well, thank you so much, JJ, for having me on the show today. Yeah. And to our viewers, hi, wherever they are. First, my name is Gitonga Mukunji. I'm also the chairman, Kenya Young Parliamentarians, in the National Assembly and also Senate. And I'm very happy to be engaged in this conversation of seeing how the young parliamentarians are doing. Number one, it is not something you can answer directly because members always get into the house and focus in different fields. But maybe we can look at things such as participation in house business, which involves putting their voice heard in terms of the motions in place, the bills that are being discussed. And I want to report and say that however difficult it is for young members of parliament or first-timers to settle in, This time we have had young members of parliament settling very quickly and learning the ropes in a very swift way. And I will say that being one of the people who have been ranked by Mzalendo as among the most vocal, actually number one member, a young member who is the most vocal in terms of participating in house business. And also we have had motions that have been sponsored by young parliamentarians that are of serious importance to either the country or public interest. And a good example is we did a very interesting WorldCoin motion in the National Assembly that I sponsored, and it led into a commission of inquiry that involved bringing even the owners of WorldCoin in Kenya to exactly explain why they are disobeying our laws and doing things to our young people in promise of small coins. And at the same time, we have had motions from other members, such as motions on issue to do with health by Honorable Njeri Kirinyaga. We have had members coming in very vocally on issues of economy. And a good example is Honorable Salasia. He came out very strongly when issues of coffee was mentioned, and it led into what transformation.
You're talking about the guy who had no understanding about climate change.
He came out so strongly, and that led into the issues we are seeing in terms of transformation on issues to do with sugar sector today. And on top of that, the members have come up with very unique ideas, and I'll look at somebody like Honorable Kiborek from Baringo has come in to introduce things that were not in his constituency, including Huduma centers, and bringing all these things as a young member, 1 year in Parliament, where you are into this new field, is something I would say they have done.
All right. You talked about difficulty, and I'll come back to you to talk about the difficulty you're facing. But Engineer, do you think that assessment is correct? Can Kenyans feel the impact of youthful MPs in Parliament?
Well, we have two sets of youthful MPs. There are those who are serving their first term, and there are those who are actually serving their second term.
Very good.
And I'll give an example of Dindi Nyoro and Kimani Kuria. Those are youthful MPs serving their second term who have demonstrated that once they are given the responsibility of leading the House, they are able to do that. Dindi Nyoro is the chair of the appropriation, the budget committee, and Kimani Kuria is in charge of the finance bill. And they have delivered on their part. In as far as Kenya Kwanza plan is required, they've done their part. Then we have another set which I believe you belong to, where you are new members into Parliament. You probably didn't have much experience in terms of public service. You've not had any much experience in the legislation, and the expectation is overwhelming on the ground on what you need to deliver. For me, I think what they lack is what was there in the other Parliament. When we had the minority leader, Duale, who was a ranking member in Parliament and was very much involved in mentoring young leaders or young parliamentarians into understanding how the business of Parliament goes around. Unfortunately, right now, the young parliaments seem to be lost. They are doing things on their own. They don't have this kind of guidance from these ranking members of Parliament to be able to tell them, this is how you carry out your business, this is how you create impact, both in the House and outside the House. So the issue, for example, of the WorldCoin, that was a reaction of something that was happening outside the control of Parliament. We want to see the members of Parliament who are young aligning themselves with the Kenya Kwanza plan. For example, on the Hustler Fund, from the other on the housing levy, so they are on the social health sector. Those are areas where we can be able to create the value chain that the Kenya Kwanza is discussing, and it's the responsibility of the young parliamentarians to come up with an agenda within Parliament and outside Parliament to help the government of William Ruto advance that goal. And also in the side of the opposition, the young members of Parliament for the opposition, to check whatever Azimio had a plan, how can it fit into this administration? How can it work together with the administration, or how can they check the administration where it is failing?
All right.
So those are areas I think they need to work on in the second year of the administration.
You talked about difficulty, and Engineer alludes that mentorship from ranking members and some of the things that you're lacking. Is that part of the difficulties you were alluding to when you were saying, despite the difficulties you're soldiering on?
Let me just describe our parliament today, Bona JJ. Number one, we don't have a house of 50 members. We have a house of more than 300 members of parliament. So it's not a house where we have opportunities to showcase everything that comes in and gives you an exposure. But I really agree with him that there is a need to always do a continuous mentorship. But I want to report to him that the young members have also planned themselves, and we have a very vibrant organization, Kenya Young Parliamentarian, that has been able to bring on board the members that are even senior members in the House for issues of mentorship. And we are not lost. And I would like to remove that thought of being lost. Let me tell you, if you rank and you look at a member of parliament that comes in and is given the platform just like any other ranking member, is like getting old. When you're born immediately, you get to the old age. So it's a matter of learning the ropes as quick as possible and ensuring that you chip in. And I want to say, we have had a discussion as Kenya Young Parliamentarians. We have bills that we are coming up with that are actually very important for this country. It's only that this year has been very slow on what I would call individual-sponsored bills, because we have had a lot of house business, government business that involved a lot of changes in terms of the structure of leadership, and I think it's in the public domain. But I'm hoping this coming year we have time for individual members' bill that can be able to come to the final even stages of the House. And we have discussed issues to do with Kenya School of Law and diplomas being sheltered aside. We are coming to change that. We have put in bills that involve issues to do with our production and our youthful population that doesn't have jobs. We have all these bills in the pipeline, and we are doing it together with the support of the numbers that we have, because we already have numbers as young parliamentarians. We are also looking at issues that are touching on our young people in a unique way, such as sexual health, issues to do with our women. We are doing all these things, and we are coming up with bills that are going to even shock this nation, because we need to change this nation as
We'll come back to that in a bit. Yes. Engineer Odhimba, part of the accusation, and I think you've seen it flying around, is that young members of parliament have become the new version of JJ Kamodo. They're ogling too much to powers that be, and sometimes tend to forget about their legislative roles.
You see, one of the challenges we have is that political parties and owners of those political parties wield a lot of power. And these young parliamentarians, having come to parliament, they believe that their only loyalty is not to the people, but to the party itself. And therefore, they must do whatever the party requires of them. And therefore, you find it's very rare to find a young parliamentarians siding or going against the desires of the party or the party leadership. And that is something which is going to be a challenge, because many of the things that Kenyans are having to disagree with the administration are things that even them as young parliamentarians may want to align with the common man, but because it's not the party position, they have no choice but to side with the party, because they fear you might be delisted as a member of parliament or disregistered as a member of the party, and consequently lose your member of parliament or leadership. So therefore, we have a challenge of deciding, is it the party or is it me as an elected member that I should be able to stand with.
Quite an interesting one. Rolling back to you, Mheshimiwa Mukunji,
yes.
because you've said you have numbers as young parliamentarians.
Yes.
But do these numbers reflect in a bipartisan way? Have members of parliament, young parliamentarians, been able to transcend political and coalition lines to coalesce around a common agenda?
Well, let me say that we have had business in the House that has had split votes between opposition and also government. But I think this year, and I'm hoping this year is when we are going to have even issues to do with such as what we have had in the dialogue committee coming to Parliament. You'll find more of that, where young parliamentarians have a stand, and it is an independent stand. But the fact of the matter is, the few motions and bills that have come to the House that required such an alignment, they are bills that you can't really judge young parliamentarians with. And I'll tell you that looking at maybe something to do with the finance bill, it transcended both sides. And you could find, because the government has sponsored that bill, there was no coercion whatsoever. But it is also something that you have to look at and see, let's give this government what it requires, and then we will see what will happen. Because if you don't give now, what will happen? And you will find yourself in an issue where the government is not helped in achieving its mandate. But in the bills that are coming to the House, such as including the formation of offices that we are expecting to be brought in the House, you will find a very independent opinion from young members. I will tell you something. I am in government, but I have been labeled as somebody who criticizes. Just the other day, I put Honorable Machogu on the hot seat because of the issue of KCPE, and I'm in government. Actually, the opposition was shocked that I'm the one who is sponsoring such a motion. So I want to say that, and this, I'm not speaking on my behalf, but of young members. It might not have been a year you could say it is a year to judge on the delivery of young members in terms of bipartisanism. But I will tell you that we do speak a language that transcends both opposition and government when it comes to agendas that I've mentioned that are coming to the House in this coming year.
Quite an interesting one, because I was seeing just the other day, one wing of the Kenya Young Parliamentarians Association called a meeting somewhere at night, and I don't know, resolved to remove one of their own because for some clandestine reason they think is compromised by the other side. And I was just wondering, Engineer, have we seen really a semblance of transcending political differences to coalesce around a youth agenda?
You know, the challenge we have as a country, we've never arrived at a point where politics is about ideas and not personalities. And as I always said, as long as the top remains the same, the top leadership of political parties in Kenya is the same. William Ruto was in Kano in 2002 with Uhuru Kenyatta, while Raila was with Kibaki in 2002. And 21 years later, they are the same people leading politics in this country. Whereas we have young people who have come in and still not yet captured that power that can be able to drive or make decisions. So therefore, the politics of ideas has still not found place in Kenya. And that's where the challenge is. The day we will find relevance in terms of ideology and how we conduct our politics, then you'll find young people with unique ideas being able to advance those positions to a point where they become issues of national dialogues. But today, our national dialogue revolves around personalities. And that's where the problem is. Whatever Raila says today is more important than what Wanjiko may want to be addressed. Whatever Ruto says today is more important than what we want today. So that's where the challenge is. So young parliamentarians, for example, who were voted this year, will identify, for example, with the issue of university funding. But none of them came out strongly to say we have a challenge with this, we have a misunderstanding, for example. Not many young people understood this whole university funding issue. Many of us who have young people who are joining university were even struggling to explain to parents that this is the way the structure of this funding will be. Some of that money came in, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago, whereas some people even never applied for that funding because they did not understand it. So we have a problem where government is doing its business the way it thinks fit. And members of parliament who are supposed to help communicate better, especially the young, are not helping the same government communicate. This is one challenge this government is struggling with, communicating whatever it wants to do. There are very few people in that government who know what they want to do, but very few are helping it to communicate. And the members of parliament, especially the young ones, who have the energy and the ability to voice those issues, are not there. I saw the deputy speaker struggling to say that in the parliament itself, she can identify a handful of members of parliament who participate. She mentioned of them. They are around 20. And in the opposition, for example, she mentioned the Honorable Nyakal, who is Nyikal, yes, who is very vocal on issues of health. On the side of the government, it was Kimani Gishungwa, obviously because the majority leader. And she could not mention more than 20 MPs, who she says, these ones I know participate in parliament actively. And that's where the challenge is. Even you saw the president struggling to communicate issues that definitely should be done either by parliament or his executive, which is a cabinet. But it is left to him to communicate. Well, whenever his deputy opens his mouth, he says the opposite. The prime secretary, different. So it becomes a challenge to understand where this government is going.
I would want to hear what Gitonga Mukunji's response is, because I mean, part of the crisis in government is a communication crisis, and I think you've seen it that way. That the president will come up with a beautiful policy, but then the communication or the import of it falls within the cracks. How are you being mentored within your party to communicate government policy?
Okay, well, JJ, I've put to task the party, especially the ruling party, in terms of its structures of young people and young parliamentarians. And judging from what we have seen even in South Africa, we have had the youth wing, and in other parties, including the Communist Party of China, there is a need to start the mentorship we are talking about in that level, so that it can be continuous. And I'm happy I've had proposals from the Secretary General talking of a school, some sort of a school to mentor young leaders. But let me just say that it is not as bad as my good brother here is trying to bring it up, because he is kind of bringing it like the young parliamentarians have achieved nothing. And I'm reporting from the inside that a lot has been achieved. And I am pretty sure that if you look at the statistics from Zalendo and these other organizations that rank, they will tell you a very different story. Because as of the most last data that was put up, young members of parliament actually yearn to speak in the House. But there is always some sort of issue to do with ranking members being given a priority. But somebody like myself have been able to surpass that, because when I I raise my hand, I am normally given a chance to communicate. But there is a need to actually try to balance, and I know the speaker's headache is that, and also the fact that the House has so many members is also not something that you can ignore and say this is something that you can always say somebody will speak. But I will tell you that the best time to judge is when we have finished up with setting up government, put up structures in terms of policies, government policies, which we are almost through with because we have passed the health bill. A lot of young members really participated in the debate on the health bill. A lot of members participated on the issues to do with the finance bill and all. But the issue of education, as you've mentioned, and is something that also made me also see a problem, is these policies that have been passed, regulations, they did not come to the National Assembly. We had to do an adjournment motion to discuss why these things are being passed without the involvement of Parliament. So please don't judge the members of Parliament, especially the young ones. Actually, the problem is something that we need to deal with as a country. Because such things that affect the whole country should pass through Parliament. And it was clear, and the committee in charge has prepared a report. I know it will come, and we are going to debate that thing.
And you're going to deal
put
with
it in the right place.
All right, Engineer Odimba, 1 minute to make your last remarks as we wind up.
I'm happy that we have done 15 months of this government. I hope the Maandamano phase is behind us. We look forward to a process where members of Parliament and the Senate will be able to engage government, both supporting it and checking it. We don't want them just to say yes to everything. We want also to hear them checking the government where it fails. And I also want to ask this government, you are doing a very good job in terms of coming up with policies, but the challenge you have, not many Kenyans understand some of the ideas you have. You need to tone them down, you need to break them down into simple ways, and we also need to see value in terms of the legislation we put. For example, we have done Hustler Fund for 1 year. We need to see mentor a story of young men and women who have come out of poverty from the Hustler Fund, and we're able to encourage others to follow the same.
All right, 30 seconds to make your last
remarks.
Thank
you. I'll just say that this country is a country that has very good laws and policies. But the challenge that we have to face is the issue of implementation of our policies, regulations, and laws. It's important for the government and any institutions that is involved to put more pressure on that. But as I wish the viewers Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, I want to say that expect more from the young parliamentarians. You're going to see us coming together in a bipartisan way in this coming year to defend the interests of the public, not of our bosses, but of the public. And that one I'm promising as the chair Kenya Young Parliamentarian.
Thank you very much. And of course, we wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you very
God
much.
bless you. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. That's how we put a cap on Prime Edition. Thank you very much for watching. God bless you. Good night.